Well, happy Memorial Day to all folks out there in internet land. How are you doing? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to this edition of Front Porch Brunch. Glad to have y'all here. It is good to see everybody. Sorry for being a little bit late. My computer decided to play havoc with me once again. But we're here. We're happy to be here with you. Hope you're having a good Memorial Day weekend so far. Got a lot of memories of this weekend, and we made some more yesterday. So talk a little about that here in a minute. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. We are on Twitter. So if you have not done it yet, send out a tweet, a Gettr, a Gab, a Truth Social, a Facebook post, wherever you are out there in internet land. Tell everybody to come on in, hang out with us for a few minutes on this weekend. And let's have some fun. Let's talk about some news that's going on, talk about some issues, and we'll see if we can't figure out what the heck it all means. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am known by some as the fine fella in the fedora, known by some as the beau in the chapeau. And as my friend Daniel from the Dangerous Rhetoric podcast once said, you are the common man with common sense. Or at least he likes me using that title that I give myself anyway. So like I said, we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter. It's a Sunday morning. It is the 26th of May. It is Memorial Day Sunday, which is a very, very important day for a lot of us. And I hope it is for you and your family too. We'll drop the music here in just a second and we'll start getting down and talking to each other. Glad to have everybody out there in the audience. I know Gypsy's already here. Oh, by the way, Gypsy, I've got some news for you, darling, which we will get to shortly. I think you're going to appreciate this perhaps more than anybody else. Good morning, my dear. Good morning. Oh, I know there's hardly anything going on. How we're going to find anything to talk about, I have no idea. No idea at all. And it looks like we got a nice little crowd assembling over on Rumble. Hello, all you Rumblers. Glad to have you here this morning, you lovely lurkers. Now, don't forget, you can make comments in chat. I would love it if you do. But also do me a favor over there. Y'all give me a thumbs up over on Rumble. Give me a thumbs up on YouTube. It helps with the algorithm. Bless everybody's hearts. Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about this morning. And apologies that I haven't had a chance to dig into some of this stuff until now. Thursday night was amazing. If you were not here for it, we had a fabulous panel of guests. We had Gothex, we had Mike Harlow, we had Daniel and Brentley from the Dangerous Rhetoric podcast. We were doing a Pride Month preview. And that's always a load of fun to get those people together and talk about anything. I mean, but they are, each and every one of them are fantastic content creators, and they're wonderful human beings on top of that. So please support them. Please give them a follow. They are definitely worthy of your attentions and your efforts and your support. Even though I haven't met with the exception of Harlow, I have met Harlow face to face, but the other three I haven't met yet, and I hope someday to do so. But, they're they're very dear to me, and they're wonderful people, and they're just great. So if you're not subbed to their channels already, please give them a sub. They are definitely worth it. But yeah, there's lots of news going on. I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. So we will try and get into some of that. Let me see if I can pump the volume on this thing a little bit. Come on, baby. There we go. Hopefully that sounds a little better. Yeah, it's Memorial Day Sunday. Just for my part, my family went out yesterday and we decorated. It's not an uncommon custom around these parts where I live. For those of you maybe not familiar with the origins of Memorial Day, I will pop this up on the screen because, I always think it's important to talk about these things and remember why we're celebrating some of the holidays that we are. This is from Wikipedia. Memorial Day, known originally as Decoration Day, is a federal holiday in the United States honoring and mourning the U.S. military personnel who died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. From 1868 to 1970, it was observed on May 30th. Since 1971, it is observed on the last Monday of May. Many people visit cemeteries and memorials on Memorial Day to honor and mourn those who have died while serving in the military. Many volunteers place American flags on the graves of military personnel in national cemeteries. Memorial Day is considered the unofficial beginning of the summer, which is very true. The first national observance of Memorial Day occurred on May 30, 1868. Then known as Decoration Day, the holiday was proclaimed by Commander-in-Chief John A. Logan of the Grand Army of the Republic to honor the Union soldiers who had died in the American Civil War. This national observance followed many local observances which were inaugurated by the end of the Civil War and Logan's declaration. Many cities and people have claimed to be the first to observe it. However, the National Cemetery Administration, a division of the Department of Veterans Affairs, credits Mary Ann Williams with originating the idea of strewing the graves of Civil War soldiers, Union and Confederate, with flowers. Official recognition as a holiday spread throughout the states, beginning in New York in 1873. By 1890, every Union state had adopted. The World Wars turned it into a day of remembrance for all members of the military who fought and died in service. In 1971, Congress standardized it as Memorial Day and changed its observance to the last Monday in May. So there you go. For my part, my family has not had a significant number of members of the military who served in the military, although there is one. My family visits 3 different cemeteries on Memorial Day weekend. Some of those family members who we decorate their graves belong to my brother-in-law, and the majority of them belong to my mom or to my father's family. In my father's family, at one particular cemetery, there is a proper military marker, by the way. It's one of those bronze rectangular, and there is buried there a gentleman named Charles Trippett, who served in the United States Marine Corps during the First World War. I don't know how much or how often that grave is visited, but for my part, whenever we go out to brush off the graves and, put new flowers out and that sort of thing, I always make it a point to stop by Charlie's grave. Beyond the fact that I know his name and I know the branch of the military he served in and I know the war he served in, I don't know that much about him. But, he was part of my family somewhere down the line, and he served, and I try to remember his service as best I can and honor his memory as in the way I can. So there you go. So if you haven't visited yet, or if you, let's put it this way, I'll do it like this. That's a more somber reflection on what Memorial Day weekend is. But if you have certain family traditions that you guys engage in on Memorial Day weekend, drop it in chat. Let's hear it. Let's talk about it. I'd be very interested to hear what you guys have got to say and what you guys do in your families on Memorial Day weekend. So there you go. There's all kinds of news items to talk about, and I suppose we should just dive right in. As I say, glad to have everybody here on Rumble, on YouTube, on Twitter. We're everywhere we can be, although I'd still love to add a few more platforms during live streaming, which, by the by, I got to give a shout out to the folks who operate the Rumble platform and to the Rumblers. Nothing against my YouTube family. I love y'all. But man, my live streams on Rumble are starting to pick up steam as far as like views and sharing it around and stuff like that. So, from one small content creator to those who are helping me out wherever you may be, much thanks, especially on the Rumble side. I genuinely appreciate it. Now, as far as things going on in the news, there was, as Gypsy jokingly said, there's hardly anything going on. Well, one of the hardly anything's going on dropped last night, and this one is a bomb. This Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, former President Donald Trump is going to go on Timcast IRL. I heard about this last night. I was watching Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. He has a live stream called CobraCast. And, well, good morning, John McGarvey. Glad to have you here, sir. And happy Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day to you and your family. This dropped last night, and it is absolutely going like wildfire all over the internet. Now, here's what I know about this so far. So far, it's an interview. It's going to be about roughly 20 minutes. I think Tim put it in the description here that it's like a 17-minute interview. And that's fine. I would want more. But I think still, first of all, there's a lot of different aspects about this story we're going to talk about. And first of all, first and foremost, not that he needs to hear it from me, but from one content creator to another in social media, a hat tip to Tim Pool. Tim has been working as a journalist in various places and various platforms for years now. He's roughly, I think, 38, 39 years old. And he may not feel that way, but from the perspective of a guy like me, the outside looking in, this is probably one of the biggest gets. One of the biggest gets he could have as an interview. So my congratulations to Tim. And when I heard this news, it got me thinking about a lot of different things. And feel free to jump in on this. And okay, I doubt that he will. I saw a picture where it's just a sit down interview between Tim Pool and Donald Trump. So that much I'm pretty sure Ian Crossland's not going to be part of it. Okay, but I can understand where you're coming from. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think for my part, I think Ian Crossland's a very smart guy. I think he's a very good guy. Sometimes you either like Tim Crossland or you don't like him. So I can kind of understand where you're coming from. Oh, I gotta read this. Brentley is over on Rumble this morning, and apparently he's feeling full of himself. Says, "Hey Brian, 17 minutes this interview. My sex acts last longer. He's lost all credibility with me after continuing to support James O'Keefe's lies. I can respect, and Brentley, I can respect that. I get it. I understand. But there are aspects about this. The fact that Donald Trump is going on Tim Pool, and I think they ought to be talked about. Now, like I said, it's going to be a 17-minute interview, basic sit-down interview. Ideally, I agree with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. I would have loved to see Donald Trump go the whole 2 hours on Timcast IRL, and they just have a freewheeling discussion about anything. Okay. Apparently, I don't know why that didn't happen, but it didn't. But let's talk about this for what it is. First of all, I think that Donald Trump going on Timcast for an interview, even though it might not be in the format that I would like to see it, okay, I think speaks volumes to the growing power and the growing influence of social media as a news outlet. Now, some people will say, well, welcome to the party late, Brian. Of course, social media is it's a big influence in terms of news. Okay, I get that. But this is kind of big. I think I don't know what questions that Tim Pool is going to ask of Donald Trump. I don't know how he's going to answer them. Maybe it's going to be one of those things where it's standard boilerplate stuff that Trump has said at one time or another. I don't know that Trump's going to be able to get away with something like that with Tim Pool, because I could see Tim Pool asking him some pointed questions. We'll see. We don't know yet. We just don't know. But I think it's a very big moment in terms of the recognition of what social media is toward presidential campaigns. I think the fact that Donald Trump is going on a social media platform like Tim Pool says a lot. He's willing to go on offense, and frankly has been now for weeks. And we'll get to some more observations about that. So I think it's a big moment for Tim Pool as a journalist. I think it's a big moment for social media in general. And, this has been talked about. Rogan. Now, I heard something last night, and I don't know if it's true. I think it was Jeremy Griggs from Geeks and Gamers. And again, that's where I got this information about about the interview, but I think it was Jeremy who made the statement that Rogan, and maybe Jeremy's completely wrong about this. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I heard. Okay. That it's Trump that wants to go on Rogan's show and Rogan doesn't want to do it. And again, I could be completely wrong about this. Okay. Could be completely wrong. And this might very well be the reason. This might be the reason. So we'll see. We'll absolutely see. And by the way, one other thought about the fact that Trump's going on Tim Pool. Don't tell me that there aren't people at ABC News, NBC News, CBS, CNN, Fox, wherever, who just right now are not going, son of a bitch. I mean, that is just absolutely chewing on people. Okay. Now, the reason that I say that, the reason that I'm saying that is this. Have they had Donald Trump on their networks? Sure. Okay. I don't dispute any of that. But the fact that a guy like Tim Pool has got Donald Trump is just one more crack in the dam that, or maybe not, that's not the best analogy for me to use. Let's put it this way. It's one more moment where the mainstream media realizes that they do not have exclusive control over the flow of news and information. Okay. It's one more outlet where people don't have to go through them to find out something or to hear an opinion. Why more politicians? And I think it's going to happen. I think this is a generational thing. I think it's a generational thing, and I think it's a learned behavior thing. But why more politicians, particularly of a conservative or libertarian bent, don't use supposed alternative media to get their message out? I have no idea. I mean, if I'm Donald Trump, I go on Tim Pool for the whole 2 hours. I try to go on Joe Rogan if Joe Rogan let me come on. Go on with Michael Malice. Go on with Jimmy Dore. I mean, go on with all these guys. What have you got to lose? To borrow Trump's phrase from 2016, what the hell have you got to lose? Nothing. And if nothing else, it starts getting people away. I mean, how many politicians, Democrat or Republican, think that they've got to go through ABC News? They got to be on Meet the Press. They got to be on, Face the Nation. They got to sit down with George Stephanopoulos. I mean, you guys know the names, and you know the names of the shows. And all these politicians, regardless Democrat or Republican, they honestly believe they got to do this to get their message out. No, you don't. No, you don't. I mean, look at me, okay? Here I am. I've got this Logitech camera in front of me. I got this Shure microphone here. I got this. The rest of it is tin can and string setup, as I jokingly say. It's not really, but you get my point. Here I am, a guy living in West Virginia, doing live streams, giving my opinion, trying to present some news, trying to provoke some thought. I don't need millions of dollars to do that. Some people out there are saying, yeah, well, you need a whole lot more experience than a producer. That's for daggone sure. Okay, maybe. But you get my point. Okay? You and I can do what the mainstream media is doing or has been doing for decades now. And we don't have all the hang-ups and the overhead and the everything else that they've got. Now, we've got certain responsibilities. If for nothing else, trying to be responsible to tell the truth and be truthful. But past that, how we do it is sort of up to us. And once people who are running for public office, be they challengers or incumbents, realize I don't need the mainstream media to win. That's going to be the day when mainstream media, if it's not dying already, which I will argue that it is, it's probably going to put it closer to to finality as we currently know it. I mean, the mainstream media is always going to be there, no matter what. Okay. The format or the manner in which they deliver news, that's going to change a lot in the coming years. It really will. And I think, I think to me, yeah, and Z Highness brings up a really good point. How many people watch cable television anymore anyway? I mean, I haven't got the latest ratings on CNN pulled up, but yeah, you know, I mean, absolutely. They don't have people watching them anymore for a lot of different reasons. Some of it is of their own doing. Some of it is the challenges of new technology as far as being, um, able and how to deliver their product. But yeah, no one's watching cable news anymore, or even the main networks if you get right down to it. And this interview that Tim Pool's got coming up with Trump, even though it's like a mere 20 minutes, okay, I think it's significant. I think this is a significant milestone. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I was thinking about live streaming tomorrow night anyway, but now I may do it just to watch this. I may my normal time is 7:30 in the evenings Eastern, and I may do it just to chip in on this thing because I want to watch this, and I'd like to get you guys' reactions to it. So we'll see what happens. And John, I did not know about this, but you know what? I tell you what, John. If you want to drop a link in chat and tell people where they can find this, feel free to do it, man. You're not going to offend me at all. You know, you've been good to me. You've not been rude. You've been everything else. So yeah, if you want to drop your link to your social media stuff in chat, do it. If people want to take a look at it, cool. I think that'd be great. So yeah, drop it in there, dude. You're not going to offend me at all. So yeah, that little piece of news has come up, and there are other things going on, and one of them is downright comical. I had heard about this for a little while now, but I hadn't really paid that much attention to it. But whoo! Did you guys catch any of Donald Trump's speech at the Libertarian National Convention last night? Holy cow! This is just amazing. So Trump and his campaign, I don't know how it came about. I don't know if he was invited or how it happened, but Donald Trump got a speaking spot in front of the Libertarian National Convention last night in Washington, D.C. And my friend, drama is probably a good way to describe it. It might even actually undersell what actually happened. Holy cow. We've got an article to read about it first. And we got an article from Reuters, and then I've got some clips, and you guys can, chime in on this as much as you want to, be you on Rumble or on YouTube or wherever you might be. So, drop your comments in about this. If you've watched it, heard about it, haven't heard about it yet, but we'll talk about it here in a second. So let's just dive right in. Here's an article from Reuters. Headline: Trump booed and heckled by raucous crowd at Libertarian Convention. Article by Tim Reed. And we have the following. Presidential candidate Donald Trump was booed and heckled by many in a raucous audience at the Libertarian National Convention on Saturday night, a marked change from the adulation he receives at rallies from his fervently loyal supporters. Okay, come on, Tim. I think that's a bit... You took a shot you didn't need to, but whatever. Okay, fine. All right. Let's continue. Libertarians who believe in limited government and individual freedom blame Trump, a Republican, for rushing through the creation of the COVID-19 vaccine when he was president and for not doing more to stop public health restrictions on the unvaccinated during the pandemic. Okay. Hey, for my part, I don't necessarily disagree with the Libertarians, although I might take a slightly different tack on each subject. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, this is exactly true. I don't disagree with you at all, Brentley. That's a totally legitimate critique. Trump basically got bamboozled, and then not only got bamboozled, he kept pushing something and not fully realizing what he had on his hands, or what it was going to do is probably a better way to say it. Let us continue. When Trump took the stage in Washington, D.C., there were loud boos and jeers. A smaller section of the crowd, Trump supporters, cheered him. Shortly before he appeared, one Libertarian member shouted, "Donald Trump should have taken a bullet." The Trump campaign did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the hostile reception. Trump, who was president between 2017 and 2021, immediately mentioned the 88 felony charges he faces in 4 federal and state prosecutions. Trump was trying to appeal to libertarians who have more in common with Republican policy positions than Democrats on issues including taxes and the size of government in what is expected to be a closely fought election. Libertarians garnered 1.2% of the national vote in 2020, or about 1.8 million votes, but November's election could be decided by just tens of thousands of votes in a handful of battleground states, so Trump is seeking to peel away some libertarian support. Politically, that makes sense. Trump's appearance at the Libertarian gathering, unusual for a Republican White House candidate, also signaled how seriously he and his campaign take the threat of third-party candidate RFK Jr., who has long opposed vaccines and mandates and who spoke at the convention on Friday. Trump has been ramping up his attacks on Kennedy, who is running as an independent, recently calling him a, quote, fake anti-vaccination proponent. Opinion polls suggest Kennedy will siphon votes away from both Trump and Biden, but it is not yet clear which of the major candidates will be hurt more by Kennedy's long-shot White House bid. Libertarian organizers said Biden was also invited to speak at the convention, but he declined. Oh, there's a shock. Oh, but by the by, we will be showing you what Biden has been doing over the holiday weekend. Oh boy. Yeah, that got real interesting. Oh, hold on to this. Hold on to this, Brentley. We got some of this stuff. Anyway, let's get back to the article. Trump has said he was libertarian without trying to be one. The Libertarian Party should endorse him. Another line greeted by boos and jeers. Undeterred, Trump poked fun at the crowd, saying if they did not back him, they would continue to garner just a tiny portion of support in national elections. Trump did get applause for one line of his speech. A rallying cry for libertarians is the case of Ross Ulbricht, who is serving a life sentence for creating and operating the website Silk Road, which allowed users to secretly buy and sell drugs and other illegal products. Libertarians believe Ulbricht's 2015 sentence represents government and judicial overreach. In front of a crowd of Free Ross signs, Trump promised to commute Ulbricht's sentence if he wins back the White House. Okay. So that's the gist of what happened. Now let me show you some of the clips from that. Before I do, I will give Robert Kennedy and his supporters a lot of credit because they did something very cheeky, but I would argue clever. So, folks, do me a favor. Check out this report from Fox News. I think this is kind of funny.
Donald Trump to take that stage around 8 o'clock, but RFK has been passing these out. These are rubber chickens he was giving out to people here at the convention, David, telling them, debate Bobby. And so they say tonight people are going to be squeezing these, I guess, when Trump's on that stage because they want to see him to take him on the debate stage. Back to you.
I love the Libertarians. All right,
I'm sorry. You know, I'm all for a good political stunt. I think that's funny. I really do. I think that's very funny. And you might, this is the $1 million question. We just don't know yet. Plus the other issue is this. We don't know where RFK is going to be on the ballot. That's right now. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Right now, RFK is the boogeyman. Okay. Now don't get me wrong. He's going to have impact on this election somewhere, but a lot of that impact depends on what states he's actually on the ballot. Okay. Right now, there are 3 of them. Officially, he is confirmed to be on the ballot. All right. Utah, Oklahoma, and Michigan. Now, I'm sorry. In Utah and Oklahoma, RFK Jr. being on the ballot, with all due respect to him as a political candidate, is not going to make a hill of beans worth of difference. Trump's going to take both of those states. The only ones so far that RFK is on the ballot for that could make a difference is Michigan. And it's gone back and forth, depending on whose polling you look at, about which candidate RFK Jr. is going to take votes away from the most. Is it going to be Trump or is it going to be Biden? We don't know. Oh, they did? They banned the chickens? They banned the chickens. Okay. Okay. They banned the chickens. All right. Now, Brentley, you asked the question, were they booing Trump before it started? Well, let me show you what happened when Trump took the stage. And this runs about 30 seconds, so take it for what it's worth. So as you can see, Trump's not exactly getting the warm and fuzzy feeling he normally gets whenever he goes on a stage. Oh, hang on, dear. We've got some news about that too. We're going to get to that a little bit later. Yeah, no, exactly. Oh, there was a little bit of that and a little bit more. There's some clips in here that we got a couple, 3 of them here. I think you're going to enjoy this. So let's get to the first one. And Trump does try to make. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, let's get to it. So do me a favor, folks, and check this one out.
A lot of people ask why I came to speak at this Libertarian convention, and it's an interesting question, isn't it? But we're gonna have a lot of fun. Well, in the last year, I've been indicted by the government on 91 different things. So if I wasn't a libertarian before, I sure as hell am a libertarian now. And unlike Joe Biden, I don't throw people in jail for disagreeing with me. I don't do that.
Okay. That's an interesting question. Why am I at a libertarian convention? Well, I don't know. Now I'm going to make a point about something here in a minute, but yeah, it's and let's get to the next one. This is pretty good. So do me a favor, folks, check this one out.
That's nice. That's nice. Only if you want to win. Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Thank you, D-Roy. Thank you. No, only do that if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't do that. Keep getting your 3% every 4 years. The reasons for doing so.
Oh, snap. Oh, snap. Oh, yeah, go ahead and keep on doing what you're doing if you want to get your 3% every 4 years. Ouch. Hey, Trump, he's going to bring it, and that's exactly what he did. Because he did. He's asking for the endorsement of the Libertarian Party for president, which is very unusual for a Republican. I don't know that I've ever heard, and maybe it's happened and I just don't remember it. I don't know about it, but this is the first time I've ever heard of a Republican presidential candidate not only going to the LNC's convention, but actually asking for their endorsement. Oh, it was a great line. Yeah, keep on doing what you're doing. If you want to get your 3% for the next 4 years, go ahead. It was an absolutely great line. Got one more clip for you. Well, no, I'm sorry. That was my last clip. I apologize. But now let's talk about some observations. Okay. And Tim Pool says it best here. Trump was booed on some issues, and on some he got the whole room going. He's trying to appeal to everyone, New York Democrats in the Bronx even. Biden hides in his basement. All right, I got a question for you guys. I got a question. Does anybody see Joe Biden going out and doing something like this? And I'm going to be asking this question a couple or three more times throughout this morning. And I want you guys to think about it, which I know the answer to my audience, but I'm asking more broadly beyond those who are watching right now. Does anybody see Joe Biden doing something like this? Hell, does anybody see Joe Biden reaching out to anybody trying to get them to vote for him who wouldn't otherwise do it naturally? Okay. Yeah, he might be making some kind of an outreach to disaffected Nikki Haley voters, but hell, most of those Democrats anyway. But you get my point. So, let's see, let me get the exact name here. It's almost like you saw my tabs on my computer before we got started today. We're going to get to the West Point speech. We're going to get to that. So, Gas Digital Network is doing an interview with Dave Smith. Now, if you don't know who Dave Smith is a comedian, he's a podcaster, and a very vocal and loud libertarian. So he gets asked by Gas Media, what was all this about? What was the point of all this? Why would the Libertarian National Convention even allow Donald Trump to be there? Well, I think his answer is pretty interesting, to be frank with you. So do me a favor, check this out. We'll talk about it.
What's the biggest complaint?
About Trump speaking?
It just seems like such a win.
This will associate us with Donald Trump. And to the layman now, they will think of libertarians as something like Donald Trump. Here's the thing, though. Well, at least they're thinking of us.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying there couldn't be any bad, misconceptions that come out of this. Look, if you're going to throw the ball downfield, you can go, well, that might get intercepted. It's like, yeah. Okay, I'll grant you that. It could. Look, if you're saying we're going to set the world free in my lifetime, well, guess what? It's the fourth quarter and we're down by 27 touchdowns. And what are you proposing? We run the ball? I'm saying throw the ball downfield. It's like people are allergic to taking a shot. I'm not saying when you throw the ball downfield, it's a guaranteed touchdown. But it's the only way to maybe score.
You know what else might be really great is if he walked away and we educated him specific things that he committed to.
Okay. People are going to, and I can see where Dave Smith's coming from in this. I can't believe you guys invited Donald Trump. Now we're going to be associated with this jackass. We don't want any associated with him. He's a Republican. He's this, he's that. He's terrible on this issue. He's awful on that issue. But I can respect Dave Smith's point of view. I mean, look, we're talking about this in the context of why the Libertarians would even invite Donald Trump to their convention to have a conversation or to let him speak. Okay? I get it. But let's talk about it more broadly. All right? There's sometimes in life, if you're going to win, whatever winning is defined as, for you, for me, for anybody else, you just got to take some risks, I mean, let's be honest about it. There is probably that person in your life, or perhaps was that person in your life, oh my gosh, I would really like to be with that person, but I got to make a move. You got to start somewhere. You take a chance. And it could be a job. It could be maybe somebody you want to be in a relationship with. It could be whatever, okay? You've got to take the risk. And honestly, if you stop and think about it, that's what both sides were doing here. Trump's taking a risk going there. He didn't get his normal reaction he normally gets when he gives a speech. He went into the lion's den. And you know what? Gypsy, I can't disagree with your assessment. I think he did fine. I really do. Now, do I think the Libertarians are going to endorse Donald Trump for president? No. They're not going to give him the party's nomination, and they're not going to endorse him. Did he go there and show a willingness that he's willing to walk into the lion's den and maybe take on a few people? Yeah. Absolutely. On the other hand, the Libertarians took the chance and invited a Republican presidential candidate who accepted their offer, by the way. And they said, let's hear what you got to say. Maybe we can do better than 3% every 4 years. Now, some have already mentioned in chat what Joe Biden was up to this weekend. And oh my God. I don't know how much more that I can go on watching Joe Biden speak or be at public events. I mean, I know he's in bad shape, and I know that he is not what he once was, but to watch him try to perform the functions of his office and speak publicly, it's just painful. Now, don't get me wrong. I am your host. I have a responsibility to you to try and make that happen. I have a responsibility to try and watch this guy. And I do. But I am not going to lie. It is just cringe-inducing watching him anymore. So this weekend, as part of his presidential duties, he gave the commencement address at West Point. And there are some lines in there that ought to be commented upon, I suppose. So let's start with the first of them. Here's Joe Biden at the commencement address at West Point Academy.
Hypothetically, I was appointed by the fellow I ran against when I was 29 years old to the Naval Academy. I was one of 10. I wanted to play football. And the day I was supposed to go down for the interview, a classmate of mine who was also one of the 10 appointed to be chosen from, named Steve Dunning, came to pick me up. And I had found out 2 days earlier they had a quarterback named Roger Staubach and a halfback named Joe Bellino. I said, oh, I'm not going there. I went to Delaware. Not a joke.
Yeah, there's just one little problem with all this. It didn't happen. There is nobody yet who has brought forth proof that any of this ever happened the way he described it. This is one of those long-running stories he's been telling for years that's more than likely a fib. But let us continue. Here's another one for you. Do me a favor. Check this out.
Was certain that NATO would fracture. I met with him right after being elected president right after I was sworn in. And we talked about this very issue. In the fall, he decided to, look, I shouldn't get into this probably. It gets me a little excited. Putin.
So I was Putin, and I talked to him, and I probably shouldn't talk. It gets me a little excited. Oh, that's what he was pumped up on before he went into the State of the Union. He thought I was thinking about Putin. Oh God. One more, and you know that you're having a hard time giving a speech, or your speech is not landing very well, when you're asking your audience for a reaction. Folks, check this one out. This is just, oh my God, bad.
Never forget, America is the strongest when we lead, not only by our example of our power, but by the power of our example. You can clap for that.
I'm sorry. When you have to ask your audience to applaud for a line you think should be applauded, Joe, let me give you a piece of advice. That's the moment when you should just move on with your speech. Because apparently either you or your speechwriters put something together that was so uninspiring, no one wanted to clap. And frankly, that's what that line was. By the power of our example, the example of our power. I'd make another hand gesture, but it's indecent. I mean, this guy is awful. Just plain awful. one more thing from the weekend so far, and then I want to make some commentary about something I think is kind of an important distinction. This is Joe Biden in Delaware after the speech. He's out doing some shopping. Okay, no big deal. That's fine. So he's at a Joseph A. Banks, which, by the way, I love Joseph A. Banks. Nice men's clothing store. So he's got his jacket, walking out to the car, kind of putting on his sunglasses, shuffles a little bit, gets in the vehicle, Secret Service all around him, and down the road he goes. Now, people have been commenting on what I'm about to say, so it's not necessarily anything new, but it just bears repeating, and I think it ought to be talked about. Right now, Trump is on offense. Trump is everywhere. Trump is dominating the news. He's going to the Bronx. He's in this place. He's going to a Libertarian convention. He's doing this. He's saying that. Everybody's talking about Trump. And everywhere he's going, I'm not saying he's being received well by everybody. Don't get me wrong. He has his detractors. I mean, the Libertarian convention proved that. But my point is this. Trump is on offense. He's going and he's going and he's going. Biden does an event at West Point, mangles the English language doing it, gives us parts of his speech are so unmemorable he can't get people to clap for it unless he tells them to do it, and then just kind of shuffles back off to Delaware. The contrast between these two men right now is so stark, it's blinding. I don't know how else to say it. Now, look, people are going to say, well, yeah, of course you'd point that out. You're supporting Trump. Yeah, I'm supporting Trump. That's not the point. Even if I weren't, it's painfully obvious. One man is dynamic and the other man is static. Trump right now is being dynamic. Biden is your grandpa out for ice cream, which isn't really too far of an analogy from being the truth, but you get my point. Trump is being seen as a man in motion. Biden is just, he's there. Yeah, and that's a good point. That's an absolutely good point. Like I said, when you got to tell your audience to clap for something that you think is a memorable line, trust me, it's not nearly as memorable as you think it is. Move on. And it's with that concept of man in motion, I want to switch gears to our next topic. But before I do, let me do a real quick commercial. My name is Brian Tripp, and I'm the Front Porch Conservative. If you just happen to be stopping by my live stream, first of all, thank you very much. And second of all, this live stream is known as Front Porch Brunch. We get together on the weekends. And by the way, folks, God willing, we're back to our regular schedule on Saturday. I know that Sundays are tough for some of y'all with services and going to church and stuff like that. So hopefully come next Saturday, we're back to normal. And dear, we're glad to have you here, even for as long as you can be. Love you, darling, and glad you can make it. But yeah, this is Front Porch Brunch. We get together on the weekends. We talk about the news. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. We are on Twitter. So if you haven't done it yet, give me a thumbs up. I would genuinely appreciate it. Glad to have you here. Hello, sir. Glad to have you. So yeah, welcome to Brunch. And we're talking about some news. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. We're on Twitter. Hanging out together, doing our thing. So speaking of being a man in motion, let us talk about Trump's speech in the Bronx. And this one, when it was announced, hang on. Yeah, it was last Friday, which would have been the 17th, the 16th or 17th. Yeah, I think it was no, I'm sorry, I take that back. I think it was Thursday the 16th. The Trump campaign announced they were going to the South Bronx to do a speech, and everybody sat up and took notice. Now, let's be honest about it. The Bronx is, by reputation and in reality, one of the most Democrat portions of the country total. Okay? People talk about Chicago as a Democrat stronghold. Oh no, the Bronx is so Democrat, it is absolutely absurd. And Donald Trump went right into the heart of the lion, into the lion's den, and said, I'm here and I want to talk. And the speech, and people were wondering, well, what kind of reception is going to get? I mean, what's going to happen here? Because, when's the last time a Republican went into the Bronx? Try Ronald Reagan. That's how long it's been. And I would argue, and the more I think about it, the more I really do believe it, Republicans have been writing off big cities and certain areas in big cities for years. That is a mistake for a lot of different reasons, which we can get into that in a little bit. So Trump goes into the Bronx. So what happened to him? Well, it turned out better, I think, than even the Trump campaign could have hoped for. Let me show you a headline from the New York Post. Trump vows to make New York City great again at boisterous Crotona Park rally. Article by Victor Nava and Diana Glebova. We have the following. Former President Trump promised Thursday evening to make New York City great again during a raucous rally in the Bronx, his first major campaign event in the state of his birth since 2016. Quote, this is some turnout, Trump told a rowdy crowd at Crotona Park. We have thousands of people outside the gate. The event was permitted to host up to 3,500 people, but thousands more gathered outside security checkpoints at the 127.5-acre public park in the hopes of catching a glimpse of the 45th president or a sample of his remarks. Now, that the number of people at the rally is kind of in dispute, and I can kind of understand why, but let me show you another headline from the Post. Law enforcement estimates they had 8,000 to 10,000 people there at the rally. Now, I say this is somewhat in dispute. The Trump campaign says 25,000. Law enforcement is saying 8 to 10. Either way, okay, and I know 25,000 is a bigger number than 10,000. I get that, but my point is, a Republican presidential candidate went into the most Democrat portion of the United States of America and drew a huge crowd. Okay, this was big. So let's get back to that article from the New York Post that we originally started looking at. If going a little further into the article, yeah, here we go. These are some pictures. Trump campaign senior advisor Chris Vida claimed to the Post that 20,000 had RSVP'd to the event, though no immediate crowd estimate was available by the NYPD. In his remarks, the presumptive GOP nominee lamented that Joe Biden, quote, is not getting the job done for the Bronx and is not getting the job done for New York. Quote, our subways are squalid and unsafe. The ceiling tiles are falling in. They look worse than a third world country. The medians and the highways are crumbling. Our sidewalks are littered with garbage, bottles, and trash. The worst of all are the discarded needles from people who are so desperate in need of help. And we have mobs of migrants fighting our police officers and giving America the middle finger. We are not going to let this continue, Trump declared. Okay. And that's a good point, Maddie. That's a real good point. Other than a concert or something like it. Good point. So let's talk about some of the reactions. Now, I want to show you guys something. I don't know if you saw this, but this was great. The night before Trump spoke at Crotona Park in the Bronx, at Yankee Stadium, a banner got dropped and says "Never Surrender." It's got Trump's mugshot on it. This is great. This is absolutely great. Okay. So yeah, you got that going on. Now, when I say that Trump had a bigger success than people realized, I have got to show you some of the, at least one reaction from the press, and this was great. So Kristen Holmes is a reporter for CNN. She's talking with Anderson Cooper, and Anderson asks her, hey, you know, what's going on there? What was it really like? Check this out. This is hysterically funny all the way around.
What's the crowd like, and what kind of response did he get?
Well, certainly a bigger crowd than I think Democrats would like to see, particularly given this is one of the bluest counties in the entire country. Now, one of the things that was interesting to me is that the Trump campaign said that they were going to micro-target to get people from the community to come to this rally. I wasn't sure what to expect. I've gone to a lot of these rallies across the country, and there are often people who travel hundreds of miles to see Donald Trump, and they're not necessarily part of the community. However, one of the things that I found was that there were a lot of people here that were actually from.
What's the crowd like, and what kind of response did he get?
Sorry about that, folks. I got mesmerized and all that. Oh, yeah, well, this it actually. Sorry. God. Okay, I might wind up having to clip that out later. I forgot about that. Thank you. Oh, and we're gonna get to that one too. We'll get to that one. I'm telling you, it's like Gypsy was looking at my tabs lineup before we ever got this show started. Crazy, but yeah, yeah. YouTube. I'm sorry about that. Forgot about the YMCA thing in the background. Don't worry. I know you're gonna clip me for it, but anyway. Oh, it's kind of funny. There were actually people from the Bronx who actually showed up for an event in the Bronx. I'm telling you right now, the abject fear that fell over the press was just astounding. And I gotta play you what I think is probably the best line that Donald Trump got off during this speech. And this, to me, if Donald Trump gives this line, no, not yet. Hang on. God, y'all are just like piranha this morning. I love you guys. It's like, did you get to this one? Did you see that? Did you? Hang on, y'all. We're gonna get to. I promise. I love you guys. Mwah! You're wonderful this morning. You're absolutely on fire. If Donald Trump, I'm going to show you a clip. If Donald Trump gives this message around the country in every oh God. Well, it hasn't gotten that bad yet, okay? I'm not yelling at it. Stop side seat producing. Oh, this is great. If Donald Trump gives the message that I'm about to show you, and he does this consistently in places like Philadelphia, Chicago, LA, Seattle, Portland, cities that are considered major Democrat strongholds in this country, I'm telling you right now, he's going to win this thing in a landslide. Folks, this is Donald Trump speaking at Crotona Park in the Bronx, in New York City, in New York State, in the United States. Check this out.
It doesn't matter whether you're black or brown or white or whatever the hell color you are. It doesn't matter. We are all Americans, and we're going to pull together as Americans.
Folks, there are people in major cities across this country that are begging, pleading for somebody to bring the country together. Look, there's a lot of things that people may or may not like about Donald Trump, and I'm not saying he's not without his faults. God knows he's got a ton of them. Okay? But for the first time in a long time, someone gave a message that said, look, I don't care what the color of your skin is. I don't care if you're a man or woman. I don't care if you're gay or straight. I don't care what you are. We are Americans, and we're going to get together, and we're going to turn this thing around. I dare you. You Democrats who watch this live stream, and daggone, I know you do. You progressives out there, I know you're watching. I dare you to find me that kind of a speech from Joe Biden and put it up side by side against Donald Trump and say, see, we're saying the same thing. Like hell you are. The hell you are. And I got to compare. You think I'm full of crap? I've got a comparison here to show you here in just 1 second that makes the point. Can you imagine if Donald Trump takes that message into Philadelphia, Chicago, name the Democrat city. You want to name Burlington, Vermont. I don't care where you're talking. Let Donald Trump take that message across this country. And I'm telling you right now, we're headed for a landslide. We may be headed for a landslide anyway, but it'll be worse if that takes hold. Which, by the way, Gypsy, this is specifically for you. Speaking of going into cities, there's one city that I left out on purpose out of my list. And I was thinking of you. Turning Point USA in June, around the middle of June, is hosting an event called the People's Convention. And it's not necessarily any different than most Turning Point USA events. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to denigrate Turning Point here, okay? That's not what I'm getting at. But what I'm trying to say is it's a Turning Point event. But there is a piece of news that's come out of that. And Charlie Kirk is working with the Trump campaign on this. And this, for you, my dear, will be of particular interest. From what Charlie Kirk is saying, and again, this is not come from the lips of the Trump campaign themselves. They are planning a rally in Detroit, separate from Donald Trump speaking at this Turning Point USA event. He's already scheduled to speak there, but they're working right now on holding a rally somewhere in Detroit. If I had to guess, and I can't prove it, again, I don't have inside information. I don't have details. But if the Trump campaign saw what happened at that event in the Bronx, it would not surprise me at all to see them do a similar event like it somewhere in the heart of Detroit. And if they do, to me, Trump's campaign will have proven to me, at least on this aspect, they have learned their lesson. There's not one reason in the world why Donald Trump, and by the way, I'm going to say something's going to be controversial, but I don't think I'm too far off my rocker here. Donald Trump might be the only Republican right now that could go into the Bronx or Detroit or any place else and do what he's about to do. Okay? There, like I say, so Gypsy, that one's for you. Keep your eyes open because there's word afoot that Trump may be doing a rally in the Motor City. So I thought I'd pass that on to you, darling. I thought you'd enjoy it. Anywho, that's the crux of Donald Trump's message. Now, lest you think that I'm full of it when I say that you cannot put two speeches, one from Biden and one from Trump, up side by side, and you know, there's no difference. Let me point out something that someone else brought up. This is from Greg Price. He's a social media influencer. He makes a valid point. I can't think of a better contrast between two candidates for president than these two clips from last week. Joe Biden goes to the commencement of a historically black college. He told them they were victims and America is an evil place and will always keep them down. Donald Trump, by comparison, goes into a rally in the South Bronx, a predominantly black and Hispanic community, and told them it doesn't matter who you are, we're going to pull this together. You don't believe me? You don't think you think Greg Price or guys like me are full of it? I'll tell you what. Let's do it this way.
You missed your high school graduation. You started college just as George Floyd was murdered. And there was a reckoning on race. It's natural to wonder if democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? The trail of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. Most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure?
All right.
We're going to pull together as Americans.
Okay. For you progressives and you Democrats out there, come on, let's see it. Let's see it. Come on. Bring it. Bring it. You got a Joe Biden speech where he's trying to be inspiring? Have you got a Joe Biden speech where he's trying to bring the country together? Have you got a Joe Biden speech where he's saying the color of your skin doesn't matter? No. The only speeches you can produce from Joe Biden are the ones that say, well, you're black, you're being discriminated against. Oh, you're a woman, you're being put down because of your sex. Oh, you're this, you're that. Bring it. Come on. Come on. You got one? Let's hear it. The country right now is crying out for leadership, be it the president, be it senators, be it members of Congress, be it governors, be it state legislators, be it members of city councils, be it mayors, be it everything else. They want to bring this nation together. And they ain't getting it from Joe Biden. So what kind of reaction did Trump get? Oh, baby. Oh, baby, you got to see some of this. This will crack you up. These were people at the rally before it started. Some of these are absolutely great. I got to play them for you because I'm telling you, in parts of the Democrat Party and the mainstream media, there is a complete... This event was on Thursday, and they're still melting down about this. Do me a favor, check this one out.
Yo, bro, you gotta make money like me, bro. You gotta... Your shit heavy, game. People.
God, all right, Jesus, Mary, and then Trump.
Let's go.
Would you let Joe Biden watch your kids?
Hell no. What? No? What kind of question is that?
That's a good answer, though.
Right there, stealing the votes, stealing the election, bro. You know, we got to secure the steal, regardless of how much we vote, which do makes a difference. But if they steal it, then what difference do it make?
Facts. Vote is secure.
All right, I want to play a couple of more here because these reactions are absolutely great. They really are. Here's the one. I think this is the one that oh yeah, this is another good one. Hang on. Yeah, again, this is before the rally starts. This one's from Fox News. I want you to watch this. This runs about 50 seconds, and then we're going to comment on it real quick. So do me a favor, check this one out.
Where are you from?
The Bronx, actually.
I'm originally from the Bronx and from New York.
I'm from the Bronx.
Right here in the Bronx, New York. This is home, right here.
AOC says if you're not a Democrat, you don't belong here in the Bronx. Right. What do you say?
I disagree with that.
I don't think she should be here in the Bronx. I actually don't know any Democrats living in the Bronx.
Look, AOC, look at the tremendous support for Mr. Donald J. Trump. You need to tell her that she needs to stay out the Bronx because look at all the people around. Everybody's here for Trump. I am a Democrat, and I belong here.
And who are you voting for?
Donald J. Trump.
What has AOC done for the Bronx?
She's done nothing for the Bronx. Nothing. Nothing's changed. Nothing's gotten any better.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Let her come to the Bronx and let her come among us people that struggle. She doesn't even know what struggle is.
This stuff is absolutely great to watch. I'm not going to lie. And people can say, well, you're just being a partisan about it. No. Did you see what I saw? White people, black people, Hispanics, men, women. It didn't matter. Now, you could sit there and say, well, Fox News is trying to paint a narrative. They interviewed people. This is what they got. One more, and then I want to move on to one other aspect about this story. And Brentley, my brother, this one is for you. I don't know what this guy's name is, but I tell you what, he has absolutely been getting all over social media. Check this out because this just speaks volumes.
I'm voting for Daddy,
For Daddy?
not Biden. Joe Biden, stop taking shower with children. Stop smelling little girls' hair. We know what you did with your daughter, Ashley Biden. Don't do that. That's wrong. You got to be a good man like Daddy is. Big Daddy Trump, President Big Daddy Trump. I'm the only one with this. Nobody has this. I had this since 2016, and I love him, and I will go all out for Daddy.
Thank you.
This, I would let me be. This is scaring Democrats to death. So much so that they're making some truly unhinged comments. One of them is from the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, a Democrat. So before the rally, she's being interviewed on CNN by Jake Tapper. And Tapper asks her what is, I think, a very reasonable question. You know, okay, so Donald Trump is coming to the Bronx. What do you think that's going to mean? Well, she gave an answer that it's one of those moments when a politician, a person, regardless of who they are or what they're involved in, should always be very careful about what they say. And usually they will regret something they let slip out of their mouth. I am telling you right now, Kathy Hochul would love to have this moment back again to prevent her from saying what she let go with in this comment. Check it out. Wait a minute. Oh, hold it. Boomer alert. Let's try that again. Okay, turn the microphone on. There we go. Check out what this woman said.
Well, I'll tell you, it won't make a difference at all, Jake, and that is for Donald Trump to be the ringleader of and invite all his clowns to a place like the Bronx. New York will never, ever support Donald Trump for.
Oh my God. She just called the people of the Bronx clowns. I mean, I forget who it was that I saw said this is, this is the basket of deplorables moment. This is it. On so many levels and in so many ways, can this woman be any more insulting to the voters and the citizens of the state of New York? You just called the people of the Bronx clowns. Believe me, when that comment gets around, and Kathy, it will. Oh, man. Look, I saw Brent's comment a little bit earlier. Let me find it up here again. Yeah, it could happen. Now, and Brentley, I'm not trying to throw cold water on it, dude. I'm just trying to be straight up and real. Do I think it's actually going to happen? If you go on the basis of historical trend, no. Do I think it's possible this year? Yeah. Am I expecting it's going to happen? I can't. I just can't yet. I'm not there. I mean, Lee Zeldin got within 6 points, and then granted, Donald Trump ain't Lee Zeldin's no Donald Trump, and I get it. But I'm telling you right now, there is something stirring in New York State and New York City. Put to you like this. Would I be shocked to find out on election night that New York went for Donald Trump? No, not really. Would I be equally shocked to say, Biden won New York? Not really. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if Trump took it. Not the way. And don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if Donald Trump goes back into New York again sometime this summer, sometime in the fall. I don't know when. But if I were Trump, I'd go back and work it. You got nothing to lose here. Do a rally at Yankee Stadium. Do a rally at Madison Square Garden. Go out, somewhere. And don't just go out to Long Island either. Don't go out there where the Republicans are at. Do again what you just did in the Bronx. Okay? Do it again. Because I'm telling you right now, it's there. It's right there. It's right in the palm of the hand. It could be done. It really could. Yeah, that's what your governor thinks of you, Bronx. There you go. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. I mean, that speech in the Bronx, where it will rank in terms of Donald Trump's, political speeches he's given over the years, I don't know. Some people are saying it may have been one of his best. Could be. Could very well be. So we'll find out. We will find out. Well, it's about 5 minutes to 12 on a Sunday morning. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. This is Front Porch Brunch. If you just happen to be stopping by, be it on YouTube or on Twitter or on Rumble, this is a live stream we do on the weekends to kind of talk about what's going on in the news. And if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please give me a sub. I genuinely appreciate it. And please, above all else, at a minimum, give me a thumbs up. I'm a hard-working brother right here, man. I'm trying to make this thing happen. So give me that thumbs up. Helps with the algorithm more than you can possibly know. So glad to have you here. Glad to have everybody here on this Memorial Day weekend, Sunday edition of Front Porch Brunch. Like I say, God willing, we're going to be back to normal come next Saturday morning at 10:30. And through the week, we do live streams at 7:30 Eastern. So, if you're kind of new to what I'm doing, I'm just a man reading the news and making some commentary about it, much like everybody else on social media, although a lot of them do it a lot better than I do, but we're getting there. Don't worry. We're getting there. All right. For the regulars who have come here, let us shift to HodgePodge Stew. Now, for those of you who are new to this live stream or new to my channel, HodgePodge Stew is a collection of stories that maybe they're not, the first thing you read about when you turn on your computer and you hop on the World Wide Web, but they are things that are going on. They definitely need to be commented about, and they definitely deserve some attention. And one of them is something that happened very late Friday evening. Compliments of Special Prosecutor Jack Smith, who we here on the Electronic Front Porch affectionately refer to as Jack Boot. Old Jack Boot's been busy this weekend, lest you think that a government employee doesn't do anything during a holiday. Old Jack Boot filed a motion in front of Judge Eileen Cannon down in Miami, and it has to do with some information that got loosened up and got in the public consciousness this week. Now, for those of you who do not know what I am referring to, it's this. Back in August of 2022 is the now infamous raid of the FBI on President Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, where they were retrieving documents that they said belonged to the National Archives. Well, as part of that retrieval of documents, the FBI authorized the use of lethal force. Now, let me say that again and break down what that means if you're not familiar with what's going on. It is not unusual for the FBI, depending on what situation agents are going to go into, to authorize the use of lethal force. In other words, you have the authorization to fire your weapons for certain situations. And if it turns out that the discharge of your weapon leads to deadly consequence, well, we authorize you to do it. Okay. However, many people, myself included, have asked and argued a very simple point. Why would you need to authorize the use of lethal force for the retrieval of documents? And second of all, why would you need to do that at the home of a former president who is under Secret Service protection? Okay. Well, thank God none of that became a reality. But the fact that the FBI even authorized it during a document retrieval at a former president's house raised a significant number of red flags, and people have been talking about it ever since, including Donald Trump. and understandably so. Well, on Friday, old Jackboot went in front of Eileen Cannon's court and requested. Special counsel Jack Smith has filed a motion for a gag order against former President Donald Trump in response to his claim that the FBI was ready to, quote, take him out, but omitted critical information about the controversy. Quote, the government moves to modify defendant Donald J. Trump's conditions of release to make it clear he may not make statements that pose a significant, imminent, or foreseeable danger to law enforcement agencies participating in the investigation and prosecution of the case, Smith's office claimed in a late Friday motion. Smith is thus claiming Donald Trump is a danger to law enforcement, underscoring with his biased language how risky the search warrant authorization was in regards to the former president. Quote, the government request is necessary because of several intentionally false and inflammatory statements recently made by Trump that distort the circumstances under which the FBI planned and executed the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago. Those statements create a grossly misleading impression about the intentions and conduct of federal law enforcement agents, falsely suggesting that those were complicit in a plot to assassinate him and to expose those agents, some of whom will be witnesses at trial, to the risks of violence, threats, and harassment. The intentions of the conduct of federal law enforcement is not the issue, but rather the risky situation created by the Department of Justice when it authorized a sweeping and overly broad search warrant of a former president under Secret Service protection, with authorization for agents to use deadly force if necessary. Smith continued, quote, Trump, however, has distorted the standard inclusion of the policy limiting the use of deadly force by mischaracterizing it as a claim that the FBI was authorized to shoot me and was just itching to do the unthinkable, which was locked and loaded, ready to take me out and put my family in danger. The special counsel characterizes these statements as, quote, deceptive and inflammatory, and argued they expose law enforcement professionals who are involved in this case to unjustified and unacceptable risk. This is a classic justification the U.S. government and prosecutors have used repeatedly to attempt to silence a leading election candidate and a defendant during a presidential campaign. All right, let's talk about this for a minute. I mean, I will give Jack Smith this much. He is right. The issuing of the authorization to use lethal force did come with certain guidelines that apparently are standard with the FBI in this situation. And we read some of them earlier this week. Okay? But that's not the point. And again, I'm going to ask a question, and I don't care if people get mad at me. I don't. Why do you need to authorize the use of lethal force if you're retrieving documents? Especially at the home of a former president who up to that point, through his lawyers, had been cooperating with the FBI and the National Archives and Records Administration, who, in fact, just 2 months prior to the raid, had walked down to where the FBI agents were at and said to them, hey, if you guys need anything, just let me know. I'm here to cooperate. I'll do anything I can to try and help you. Yep. You ain't wrong. Somebody was hoping something would go wrong. Or maybe expecting, I don't know. And I don't care if people get mad at me for saying it. There's not a reason one to do this unless somebody's wanting something to happen. Yep. So yeah, so Jack Smith wants Trump to stop talking about this. If I were Eileen Cannon, I would politely laugh this motion right out of the courtroom. I wouldn't dare modify it. I wouldn't modify the gag order. I wouldn't put a gag order on Trump for this. Let him talk about it. That's exactly what the FBI tried to do. So, now, speaking of things that people are talking about, there is another story that came out just in the past day or so. As you all are well aware, regular attendees on the electronic front porch, the trial of Donald Trump in Manhattan is about to wrap up. Arguments were done. Both sides rested their case last week. The jury, come Tuesday, will be given their instructions. They will begin their deliberations, and then they will hand down a verdict on these 36, 38 counts that Alvin Bragg and his office have brought against Donald Trump. Well, there is a piece of news that's come out just as soon as the verdict is rendered. Joe Biden will be making remarks about this. Did y'all see this in Politico? Check this out. Headline: Biden has stayed silent on Trump trial. Verdict will change that. Biden will speak at some point after the verdict, whether it be a conviction, acquittal, or a hung jury. Article by Jonathan Lemire. We've got the following. Joe Biden plans to break his vow of silence and publicly address the criminal trials of Donald Trump that Donald Trump is facing when the verdict is reached. 4 people familiar with internal deliberations told Politico. Biden intends to initially address the verdict in a White House setting, not a campaign one, to show his statement isn't political. Oh my goodness. Sorry. I got choked up. My apologies. According to people who were granted anonymity to discuss internal deliberations. If the jury convicts Trump, Biden's team will then argue that the result shows Trump is ill-suited for office and that it demonstrates the extremes to which the former president would go to win again. The campaign's social media team is considering leveraging the line of attack further, with discussions underway about referring to the ex-president online as convicted felon Donald Trump. His team is also preparing for a barrage of Republican and Trump attacks if the former president is acquitted or if there is a hung jury. Closing arguments are set for Tuesday. The jury could reach its decision as early as next week, and Biden will speak at some point after that. A definitive decision on timing and setting has not yet been made, no matter the outcome, whether it be a conviction, acquittal, or a hung jury. The message will be different for specific rulings, but the fundamental point will remain the same. America's legal system has worked, and the process should be respected. Okay, let's talk about this. I am not in the habit of giving Joe Biden advice, as anybody who watches my live streams will fully know. But in this case, I'm going to. Joe, don't do it. This is a mistake. This is a big mistake. Do not say anything about this, whether Trump is declared to be innocent, whether there's a hung jury, whether he's found guilty. Shut up. Don't say anything, because frankly, you're in a no-win position here. Okay? Now, let me explain what I'm getting at. Let's assume for a moment that Trump is found guilty, which tragically I think is going to happen. And by the way, not because I think that there's a preponderance of evidence that proves Donald Trump broke the law, okay? When you got a jury drawn out of a place that voted 80% for Joe Biden, when you've got jurors excluded just because they mentioned the fact, yeah, I watched Donald Trump on social media, when you've got a judge who is as conflicted as Juan Merchan and who's arranging the jury instructions in such a way that the jury doesn't have to worry about questions of predicate crime or what they may be, when you've got a judge ruling on practically everything that Donald Trump's team is doing is not allowed, I'm not going to be shocked at all if a verdict comes down that says Trump's guilty. The problem that Joe Biden has got, and Joe, if you're listening to this, the problem you've got is everybody thinks that this trial has been arranged for your benefit, such that if Trump is found guilty, it benefits you, and that you, through various means, direct or otherwise, had a hand in getting Donald Trump into a courtroom. Because here's what's going to happen. If Trump is found guilty, people are going to look at you and go, yeah, you got what you wanted. You got your political opponent found guilty in a mostly Democrat area of the country in front of a Democrat judge, and now you're going to benefit from his guilty verdict. Oh, we do. But the average person sort of watching this, if they had any suspicions about it, are going to find it very, very weird that the leading candidate against the incumbent president has just been found guilty in a Manhattan courtroom with 5 months to go till the election. So that's one side of it. If, on the other hand, there's a hung jury, or let's say Trump's found innocent, and you go out and make a statement about it, if you're Joe Biden, then everyone's going to look at you like you're a petulant child and you're mad that you didn't get the result that you wanted. So there's no good way for Joe Biden to go here, okay? This whole thing about talking about how the legal system worked out the way it should and all that happy crap, no. I mean, the fact that the author of the Politico article, well, Joe Biden does not want to appear political in his comments. Too late, guys. It's too late for that. People around the country are watching what's going on here, and they are realizing that this has been done for the express purpose of fouling up Donald Trump in terms of trying to win back the White House. Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you on this. Yeah, it's happening. So, like I say, the smartest thing Joe Biden can do is to keep his mouth shut. But Joe Biden's not going to do that. He's going to rub it in everybody's face. He's going to try and rub it in Trump's face. And yeah, this is what will happen. If he does this, Trump wins. I agree with you completely. He needs to keep his mouth shut, but he's not going to do that because, frankly, he's not that smart. And what he lacks in smarts, he makes up for in arrogance. So, yeah. Go ahead, Joe. Go do it. You shouldn't, but you will. Oh, what else do we have for HodgePodge Stew? Oh, by the by. Got to follow up on a story that I've sort of been following for a while, and I've been mentioning to you guys. The state of Ohio, and Robert Lowry, you may not be with us this morning, but brother, this one's for you. Not that you are going to find what I'm about to tell you shocking, but, this one's in your backyard, so yeah. Now, for those of you who may or may not know what's going on, let me get you up to speed. The Democrat National Convention this year starts August 17th, I think it is. Yeah, later in August, okay? Oh, okay, I did not realize you were from Ohio, dear. So, okay, well, this one's for you, too. The Democrat National Convention this year starts, I think it's the third Monday in August. I think it's the 17th or somewhere in that general area. Well, the state of Ohio has a law that says that the candidates for president must be certified and declared to the Ohio Secretary of State's office by no later than 90 days prior to the election. Okay. So in this case, that would be on the calendar August the 7th. All right. Well, there's just one problem. The Democrat National Convention, which in the end is the official function that will declare Biden to be their nominee, doesn't take place until the third week of August, which is about 10 days after the deadline under statutory law in the state of Ohio. Have a great day, darling. Tell your family we said hello, or hey y'all, as we do it down here. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, love. Good to have you stop by. So, technically speaking, the Democrats are outside of the compliance window to get Joe Biden on the ballot. Now, by the way, lest you think, for those of you not familiar with this, lest you think that this is something that just popped up. No. This has been going on now, or the awareness of this situation has been going on now really since March or April. Frank LaRose, who is the Secretary of State in Ohio, has been sending correspondence consistently to the Democrat Party of Ohio and to the Democrat National Committee, telling them, hey guys, we got a problem here. Here's the problem. Your convention is being held after our deadline. Now, and Frank LaRose has told them in writing, you got two choices. Either you guys change the date of the convention, or we give you an exemption under Ohio law, which, by the way, the state of Ohio has done before. Okay. State of Ohio has passed exemptions that allow presidential candidates to get on the ballot, for situations just like this. Okay. Well, the DNC is not moving the date of the convention. And last week it was announced that the legislature, which they were trying to pass a bill to solve this problem. They can't get a bill passed. The Speaker of the House came out and announced, hey guys, the will to get this thing done is not there. So the Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, sent a letter to the Democrat National Committee and the Democrat Party of Ohio and said, guys, we need you to give us a solution here. What do you want to do? Which brings us to our update to this situation. Governor Mike DeWine has called the legislature into special session, saying they have got to get this thing taken care of. Here's an article by Andrew Stanton. We read the following from Newsweek. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine criticized the GOP-led state legislature as, quote, ridiculous on Thursday for not taking action to ensure President Joe Biden appears on the ballot in the November election. Biden, the presumptive Democrat nominee, is facing questions about whether he will appear on Ohio's ballot due to a conflict between the date of the DNC and a state law requiring presidential candidates to be officially nominated 90 days before the general election, which this year is August the 7th. However, DNC is scheduled to take place August 19th. Okay, I thought I was a little bit off on that date, but not by too much. August 19th. Similar conflicts have arisen in the past, with Ohio lawmakers waiving the requirement for the 2012 and 2020 elections. However, the GOP-controlled legislature does not appear poised to waive the requirement for Democrats in 2024, said House Speaker Jason Stevens, a Republican. DeWine criticized calling for a special session of the General Assembly, making remarks criticizing GOP lawmakers for not taking action to ensure Biden can appear on the ballot. Okay. So let's go directly to Governor DeWine's comments, and we will listen to what he has to say on this matter. So this clip runs about 1:15, so do me a favor, folks, and check this out.
The Senate has passed several bills that would remedy this situation. However, the House of Representatives has failed to do this. The legislature had session yesterday and again failed to take any action. This is simply unacceptable. Ohio is running out of time to get Joe Biden, the sitting president of the United States, on the ballot this fall. Failing to do so is simply not acceptable. This is a ridiculous, this is an absurd situation. Therefore, tonight, pursuant to Article 3, Section 8 of the Ohio Constitution, I am calling a special session of the Ohio General Assembly to begin this coming Tuesday, May 28th. The purpose of this session will be for the General Assembly to pass legislation ensuring that both major presidential candidates will be on the Ohio ballot in November, as well as legislation that would prohibit campaign spending by foreign nationals.
Now, there's the hang-up in all this. It's that last part. The Ohio State Senate did indeed pass a bill that would have addressed this issue, that would have, made an exemption to let Joe Biden be on the ballot. But the Senate president got a provision added in, according to reports, that bans foreign money from being used in Ohio elections. Well, for some reason, everybody in the House, I guess, had a conniption fit over this, to the point the House couldn't pass the bill. So I don't know. And look, I don't necessarily agree with what DeWine is doing, but I understand why he's doing it. And you know what? Frankly, his point is valid. Look, there's not a legitimate U.S. constitutional reason why Joe Biden ought to be off the ballot in the state of Ohio. Now, I say U.S. Constitution. Joe Biden meets the age requirement. He meets the fact that he's a national citizen requirement. Okay, so he meets all the U.S. constitutional requirements. That said, however, we're here in a mess of Joe Biden and the Democrats' own making. I mean, I saw Frank LaRose, the Secretary of State for Ohio. He was on War Room with Stephen Bannon. And, LaRose has got a valid point. He's like, look, man, I'm enforcing the law here. I've got no choice in this matter. And strictly speaking, he's right. The law says that you have to certify who the candidate is going to be 90 days before the general election. The DNC set their convention to start on the 19th. That's not Frank LaRose's fault. Now, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, do I think Joe Biden's going to carry Ohio? Absolutely not. Not with Donald Trump on the ballot anyway. But if he's not on the ballot, I think Sherrod Brown, the incumbent Democrat senator, who's in a very tough race against Bernie Moreno, the Republican challenger, I think Sherrod Brown's goose is cooked. So there's legitimate reasons to get Biden on the ballot. But on the other hand, this is the Democrats' own fault. You mean to tell me that for all the election lawyers that they have on payroll at the DNC, someone couldn't have looked at the calendar and said, hey guys, we can't put the convention starting on the 19th of August. Ohio's got this rule. So, they get what they deserve. That's all I'm saying. They get what they deserve. Let's see. One more story, and then we're going to wrap it up for this session of Brunch. And that's a good way of putting it. A lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. I get it. And frankly, I'm not unhappy about the situation. I mean, like I said, I understand why DeWine's doing it. And frankly, should Joe Biden be on the ballot in Ohio? Yeah, they should. He should. But then again, the fact he's not on the ballot right now is the Democrats' own fault. So, you get whatever Joe Biden gets out of this, he gets what he deserves. If he's not on the ballot, it's his own fault. So there you go. One last story, and we're going to skedaddle, let you guys enjoy some time with your families and such like that. Last week there was a primary out in the state of Oregon. Now, when I say Oregon, usually the first thing you think of probably is Portland. And understandably so, because Portland, like Seattle and like many other cities along the West Coast, have been riddled by problems with crime. They have been riddled by problems with drugs. They've been riddled with, shall we say, less than vigorous prosecution. And out in Portland, much like many cities across America, was a Soros-funded district attorney. Well, in perhaps what may be deemed as a piece of good news, or maybe it's the sign of the turning tide, that Soros-funded DA got bounced. Check this out. Voters seeking law and order cheer the ousting of progressive Oregon district attorney. Portland, quote, has been a war zone of drug dealing and petty crime since progressive DA took over, gallery owner says. People living and working in Portland, Oregon told Fox News Digital they hope the ousting of their progressive district attorney will end what they view as a permissive attitude toward crime. They wanted law and order, said former Portland news videographer Andy Chandler of Voters' Decision. They didn't want this kind of hollow, empty gesture concept of law and order that I think a lot of us have lived with for the past 4 years. Nathan Vasquez, a longtime prosecutor, beat his boss, Multnomah County District Attorney Mike Schmidt, in Tuesday's nonpartisan primary election after running a tough-on-crime campaign. Vasquez received endorsements from several police groups, crime victims, and business owners. Vasquez can begin serving victims rather than criminals, street photographer and school mom Tara Fall, who, by the way, Tara Fall has been a guest on the Dangerous Rhetoric podcast. Go check out that episode. Tara Fall told Fox News Digital, Schmidt's MO seemed to be just letting these people back out and letting them reoffend, and it becomes pretty hopeless. Schmidt, whose campaign received contributions from groups linked to liberal billionaire George Soros, took office during the height of Portland's 2020 protest. He soon announced a policy of declining to prosecute the most common riot-related crimes. Complaints of a revolving door at the jail extend beyond protesters. Officers with the Portland Police Bureau told Fox News earlier this year they arrested alleged drug dealers, thieves, and repeat offenders, only to have them back on the streets within hours. That's unfortunately the reality where we work, and that's not up to us, Officer David Bear said in January. The DA's office filed charges in just 47% of all cases it received in 2020. That rate began steadily increasing since then, hitting 60% in 2022. But during the same time frame, police began sending fewer cases to Schmidt, according to data provided to Fox News last spring by the district attorney's office. Fall and others in Portland say such police policies exacerbated crime and created a feeling of lawlessness in the City of Roses. Quote, it's been a war zone of drug dealing and petty crime for the past 4 years, says Charles Froelich, who owned an art gallery near downtown Portland since 1995. So there you go. A bit of good news in the midst of the culture war. So I tell you what, that's pretty much everything that I've got for... Oh. One last thing. A funny to kind of cleanse the palate. Just saying. So there you go. Anyway, that's everything we've got for Front Porch Brunch this weekend. And I want to thank you guys for stopping by, be it on Rumble or on YouTube or Twitter. We're glad to have you all here. We'll be back this week with regular live streams. And like I said, I'm going to try and decide how I want to do Monday, especially in light of that Tim Pool interview with Donald Trump. I definitely want to sit in for that one, make some commentary about it. I'm going to be very interested to hear what kind of questions are asked and answered. So anyway, it's Memorial Day weekend. You guys have a blessed and happy holiday with your family. Take some time to remember those who have worn the uniform and are now no longer with us. So have a happy Memorial Day. Enjoy some cookouts with your family. Take some time to reflect on those who have served. And remember, in the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, it's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night.